This meeting is being recorded.
Fancy. Dr. Corso, we all just wish Sergeant Taylor a happy birthday. What did you do for your birthday? We saw your balloon. So what did you do for your birthday?
Well, my spouse, she made me a king's breakfast and a king's dinner, and got me a nice gaming chair and baked me a cake. And they sung happy birthday. And, we did quarantine and chill. We did quarantine and chill. Watch TV as a family. Watch the Netflix movie. I forget the movie we watched. Not Netflix. We ordered the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So that was. Yeah.
So what is a king's breakfast and a king's dinner consist of?
Man. So for breakfast, I had omelet, 2 strips of bacon, biscuit, grits. Cheese grits too. Cheese grits.
This is a nice Southern breakfast. So if it was grits and it was cheese, it had to be salt and not sugar, right?
Oh yeah. I had water though, if that helps. I had water. And then for dinner, steak, shrimp, 2 twice oven baked potatoes with cheese and sour cream and dinner rolls and some broccoli. Oh yeah, it's good.
Okay. So you guys that are students that are on here, let me know in the comments if you guys have ever had grits before. I know this has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be talking about, but I'm a Southerner and I'm sure Sergeant Taylor's a Southerner too. So if you guys had grits before, do you know what they are?
Don't worry, I'll make y'all some. You never had, I'll make you some. Some of the best grits you ever had.
No grits? Okay, everybody's being shy today. They don't want to say. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know we just talked 5 minutes about nothing, but
it's fine.
And I know Sergeant Taylor loves to eat, and as soon as he said breakfast, I wanted to know what it was.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a couple of students on here today, and some will kind of filter back in. And so the students usually like to use the chat for answering questions about grits. So sometimes they will unmute themselves if they have a question, or they'll put their question in the chat. So if they do put a question in the chat, I'll kind of pause and read it out for you.
Okay, I see. I just get used to I'm just seeing all the options now. So okay, I just said thank you to Rachel. Okay.
So just students, before we get started, just wanted to make sure that tomorrow we have Mr. Sean Gaffney from Pierce College, and he's going to talk to us about online learning, like what it means to learn online, the do's and the don'ts, and some nice tips for that. We have no quarantine chat on Monday because it's Memorial Day. Next Wednesday, you definitely should be here on Wednesday, which you guys are on here every day anyway. We have the Upward Bound program, which is a college and career-based program, and they are recruiting, looking for new students. There's a summer program, and I actually work for the Upward Bound program. I have about 13 jobs, so that is one of them. And they also meet throughout the school year. So it's a great opportunity for you guys to stay focused and learn some college planning. And even if your plan is not to go to a 2-year or 4-year college, they keep you on point as far as your grades and free tutoring and things like that. And then the last day of quarantine chats is next Thursday. And we have Mr. Alan Painter from Dickinson College. And he's going to talk to us about letters of recommendations and essays. And then we are done. But today, we have our very own Sergeant Taylor, who is part of our family. He's at the school all the time. The ROTC program students are very, very familiar with him. And you may have seen him walking around in the hallways or in the cafeteria. Did you do push-up challenges in the cafeteria?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Push-up challenges, work out with the football team. They probably see me a little bit everywhere.
So if you guys have been in the cafeteria for lunch, he's one of the guys that was doing the push-up challenges and punking everybody, telling them they can't do but 5 push-ups. So as they say at my church, without further ado, we have Sergeant Taylor, who's going to talk to you guys and give you information about careers in the Army and just some basic things that are going on now with COVID-19 in the Army. We were talking about that information this morning. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. You are awesome as always. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Staff Sergeant Tremaine Taylor. I am your Army liaison locally for Norristown High School and spread throughout Montgomery County and a little bit beyond. Just a quick little info about myself. Yes, I'm Southern. I'm from Virginia. This is my 17th year in the Army. I'm not a part-time recruiter. I'm a full-time recruiter. I did transportation for 8.5 years, and I've done recruiting for the other 8.5 years. So I've seen a little bit of everything. I've been to Iraq twice, Afghanistan once, and you have to ask me what states I haven't been to with the Army. I've been all over the United States. And did a special stint in Hawaii. So I've seen and done a lot. The Army's kind of been what I call my happy accident. I took the ASVAB test my senior year in high school, which is a while ago, long time ago. That's, still looking 20 years old. And when I took the test, it was able to kind of help me see my career paths beyond just graduating high school, going into college, and figuring it out. I got to research the Army branch, the Air Force, and the Marines. Got to sort for myself what I wanted to do, and then got to make a path for myself. So it's kind of like I tripped into it, and I just made a career out of it, and it's done me wonders. So for me, what I try to do in recruiting, I'm only a recruiter by title. I'm a mentor and a leader. So any times if you see me in the hallways or in the community, please feel free to stop me and just ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. So like Ms. Mitchell said, today I want to touch on a little bit. You can research all this stuff on the Army MOSs, which means Military Occupational Specialty, or the CMF fields, which is called the Career Military Fields, right? So just branch off to see what jobs you can do in the Army, with the Army, whether you do a short stint or whether you decide to make a career out of it. But things and the jewels I'm going to drop for you today are a little bit of insight of what's going on in this climate that I have. First of all, thank you to the Norristown staff, Ms. Mitchell, Mr. Roth, JRTC, everybody who's welcomed me with open arms, and to the graduating class of 2020. You're facing a challenge that has never been seen before in our climate. So my prayers and thoughts are to y'all going forward. So basically what I'm going to do right now is just going to give you a little introduction of what I'm seeing as a recruiter. I'm still working daily, doing most of my stuff virtually, but still having to go out into the community with a lot of these jobs, schools, post-secondary schools as well being shut down. I've worked with a couple of individuals from the college, along with other high schools who everything has stopped for them. Education has stopped for them in college. Their job markets have stopped for them. So I'm just going to be giving you a little insight as to what I'm seeing. With that being said, things will start to normalize. So whatever your plans, whatever you have going on right now, keep pushing forward, okay? Don't let what we have going on right now, don't let it make you stagnant or complacent, okay? Keep pushing forward, keep listening to your parents, to your leaders, to your mentors, to your counselors. Things will start to normalize and you will be pushing forward. So just don't get stagnant and fall behind. A little bit about the Army, the introduction to the Army is what I call it like the best branch for marketing. And what I mean by that is with the Army, there are 150, what I said is MOSs. Basically, military occupational specialties are jobs, right? Things you can do. And they're broken down by the CMFs, which is the career military field. So we have aviation, we have engineering, we have communications, we have computers. If you can think it as a career, the Army probably has it. And then, in fact, rewinding to part of my story is when I talked to the Air Force recruiter and the Marine recruiter in my time, I was kind of more open to the Army because they didn't pigeonhole me into doing one particular job or thing. I had like 6 to 7, 8 options at the time for me, even going into the reserves. And the reserves is the part-time because I was going into college, straight out of high school. So the reserves is the part-time side of it, and then the active duty is the full-time side of it. And I've done both. From 2002 to 2005, I was in the reserves. So I was, taking a couple classes, not really serious about school. But I ended up finding myself when I went active duty in 2005, I did a minimal contract for 3 years. And I said, if I don't like it, I was still young. I was still trying to find my feet in the world. I said, okay, I'll do 3 years active duty. If I don't like it, I'll go back to the reserves and I'll get really serious about college. I'll buckle down. And I fell in love with it. I have my credits for my associates now, and I'm working on my bachelor's because one of the things I wanted to do was not use any of my GI Bill. The GI Bill is what they gave me when I first enlisted in the Army. It was around $63,000 for college, but I also had tuition assistance. And one of the things I told when I met my wife and my mother at the time, I recommitted myself. I said, I don't want to use any of my GI Bill if I don't have to. I'm going to use all my tuition assistance while I'm serving in the Army to get my degree. That way I won't have any debt. And lo and behold, I'm 5 classes now away from my bachelor's, haven't taken out any student loans or anything like that. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So with the climate you're in right now, going out, yes, it's going to, the job market has, I talked to Ms. Mitchell earlier, and some of the numbers for 16 years old, because at some states you could be 16 and register for work, and to, I think it's the 23-year-old range. The job market has decreased over 40% for y'all in this time in the last 2 months. What does that mean? That means now that all school has stopped, unfortunately, that you will be probably doing like virtual commencement ceremonies and things like that, graduating, getting your diplomas and things like that. It means going into when you're trying to get a part-time job or do something to help. If you don't have a full-time scholarship or a 3/4 or a half scholarship, anything you're trying to do right now, getting the extra funding for is probably going to be a little bit tougher than it is for some of your peers and those who graduated before you, years before, because of the pandemic we have going on right now. Do not be alarmed. Everything that Norristown High School is doing with these quarantine chats and what your parents are trying to map out and everything we have going on is trying to help y'all get back to a normalization. So what the Army does, and what I can explain it, is it gives you everything you need from the basis. Whether you're 17 years old through 35 years of age, you can join the Army. And the initial things that it starts you out with tuition assistance. Tuition assistance is $4,000 to $5,000 each year. That's just to use for any classes whatsoever. And it may not sound like a lot. But you wearing a uniform, being a service member in the Army, you are partnered with so many schools. There are over 1,200 schools across the United States that we're partnered with, that they give you discounts for classes, books, and labs just by being in the Army, whether it's active duty or Army Reserves. So as you're being a civilian, and you would pay full price for a class. If a class was with books included, $2,500 to $3,000 or beyond, then being a service member for the Army and the Army being partnered with that school, i.e. Montgomery Community College being one of the partners of the Army, they'll give you discounts for that course, right? Just by being a service member, whether you're doing the part-time side of it in the reserves or you're full-time active duty. Okay, those are one of the things. Another one of the amenities and one of these programs I talk about is the GI Bills and how many different ones of the GI Bills there are. And right here I have in my system, it's called the handbook, the 2020-2021 handbook, with the post 9/11 GI Bill, the Montgomery GI Bill, selected GI Bill, the Montgomery GI Bill, selected reserve kicker plus, and then the loan repayment program. All these entities are designed for you to use to go to school. I hear sometimes when I'm in the street, talking to people, back when it was normal, walking into the mall or Walmart, anything like that. And it was like, yeah, I thought about the military. It looks like a good choice for me because school right now isn't what I want to do. Well, the Army wants you to go to school. They're looking for the next wave of leaders to have paperwork behind them. And that's why they have these programs in place, not to discourage you from going to school, but to add to it and say, hey, while you're in your downtime, right, why not take a course or two, every couple of months, right? It's free tuition assistance for you to do these things. There's a Montgomery GI Bill in place, the post 9/11 GI Bill in place to do these things for you to get you to go to school. You can take a class on the weekend. You can do online courses that's self-paced, 5 weeks, 6 weeks to 8 weeks in time. We have instructors come to different Army installations, professors, tutors. They come on and teach courses. Or if you're struggling with a particular subject like math, I'm not the biggest math fan. So that, we have tutors that come and you can take these after-hour courses to help you, because the Army wants to better prepare you going forward in your future, because not everybody is going to make a career out of the Army. We have 2-year contracts, 3, 4, 5, and 6-year contracts. Some people come in just for 2 years, just to get their accreditation, just to get certificates that the Army is going to get for them. They get out, to give the Army a high five and say, thank you, Uncle Sam, and they're on their way. And they still have these things in place that they can use going forward. But now they're double dangerous because they have certificates behind them, and all they did was 2 years of service, okay? And I know some people are probably going to be chiming in and out and have questions, anything like that. And Ms. Mitchell, if you want to ask a question just general question for anybody at the time, please feel free to stop me because I can talk.
And I can talk too. The both of us are here all day.
So
let me check real quick. And it seemed like every Wednesday somebody's cutting the grass over here. So if you hear something in the background, that's what it is. But you guys, do you have any questions so far for Sergeant Taylor, especially about the tuition or what the ASVAB is, the ASVAB test? Any other questions that you have? Because those are my 2 questions. Just if he could provide some more clarity about the ASVAB test. And I know a lot of students think that the ASVAB test is only for, people who are planning on going into the military. So can you add a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's perfect. Great question, Ms. The ASVAB test is a general test of math, English, sciences, and what you know or accumulated with job sources, i.e. it's going to ask you questions in the latter sections about mechanics, engineering, shapes, angles, different things like that, the key to it. You don't just use the ASVAB test for military purposes only. You can use it as a grade tool for the ACTs and also the SATs and a generalization for where your math and your English are at that time, right? At that time. And then the Army and the smart people with the Army have designed a tool. It's called the marchtosuccess.com. It's a website that you can go into it, and not only can you study and link it for your ASVAB score if you wanted to improve your ASVAB score, but you can also go directly in that link and you can be off, and you can also study for the ACTs directly and the SATs directly, and also whatever state you're currently residing in, if that state has state standardized testing, you can also study for your state standardized test. So in Virginia, if you have the SOLs, you'll study SOLs, and North Carolina and then PA and so on and so forth. That system is totally calculated to support you. The ASVAB test can be used with other students who do not have any military inclination. They can use that just as a kind of like a weighted scale to see where they are currently with their math, their English, and their science. 3 of the biggest things when it comes to state standardized tests and also for the ACTs and SATs. So that's what the ASVAB entails.
And if I can add in there too, there are some students that may be thinking about going to a school like Williamson Trade School or some other trade schools. Now, Williamson Trade School is a school that you can go to learn about the building trades. And if you get into that school, you actually get a full scholarship to live and stay on campus and all that kind of stuff. So you would have to take the ASVAB, but you have to take it at their school, and then they have a little something extra that's on top of it. So if there's any trade schools that you guys are looking at, you want to make sure to see if they require the ASVAB, because you guys can practice. We give the test twice a year at the school.
Yep. And it goes directly through Ms. M and through the JRTC, Colonel Ramos and Sergeant First Class Shear. Any of the three can help you register for the test. Like I said, it's 2 times a year, or you can contact myself. There's variations of it that I have the practice test, which is anywhere between 30 to 35, at the most 40 minutes, where you can take the the 4 major sections of the test. It's just shortened. Or you can actually take the home ASVAB test, which is it's called the PICAT. Or you can actually go to Fort Dix, which is in New Jersey, and take the computerized version of the ASVAB. So you have all these things you can do to better prepare yourself when it comes to testing, especially if you want to up your scores in any one of those 3 between ACT, SAT, and the ASVAB. That's a great question, Ms. M.
You guys have any more questions? You can unmute yourself, or you can put the questions in the chat. Or y'all gonna be quiet like you were the other day too. It's a quiet week. And that's fine. That means that Sergeant Taylor's doing an outstanding job. So continue, sir.
Okay. And so one of the things I also like talking about is not mention a whole lot about the Army is the COOL. The COOL program is like a credentialing opportunities online. I think that's what it stands for now. And basically what it does is it finds whatever licenses and certificates that you have accumulated with the Army, and it transfers them into civilian sectors. So it lets you know what jobs are related to your job that you currently will have with the Army, and where you can venture out. Like say if you're getting out in 3 years, you do 3 years contract and it's on your last year. The COOL system is always updating for those certificates, any degrees that you've accumulated, any Army training that you've done, anything of the sort, and it's always filtering and updating everything. So it can put you back into the civilian sector, and you're not just wondering about, you don't have any clue what you want to do. So they're going to send you back with a better idea. Okay, at this time frame in 2024, here's what your certificates are doing. Here's what your degrees are looking like. Here's some of the fields, and it also it looks at the U.S. numbers and tells you what's your competition like. Okay, how many people are graduating this year with these amount of degrees, and so on and so forth. So you can better prepare yourself if you're deciding, hey, I'm getting out, next year or in 6 months or whatever. This website is going to help you generalize and kind of put yourself in the right path. Okay, when I get out, here's what I'm gonna do. I have my my resume, my civilian resume, my Army resume, and you can kind of consolidate those together, and it can better send you out, back into the civilian side, like I call it, double dangerous. Now you have the Army certifications behind you, you have your resume updated, and you have the COOL's website that's updated every year. They do it 3 times a year where they update it to show you what your certificates and your degrees are looking like in the civilian world. It's a pretty neat thing. It's open to everybody. It's not just if you're in. It's also something where you can open as a civilian. If you have an idea of what you want to do, and you didn't know that the Army had this job, or this job, you can start looking at it and be like, oh, okay, I didn't know you can do this with the Army. Like I tell people all the time, I said, if you play Call of Duty, if you ever play Call of Duty and you call in the UAV, well, we have that job in the Army, right? We have the mechanic for it and things of that nature. And people tell me all the time, they say, well, I thought y'all were mostly about combat. Combat is 10% of the jobs of what the Army does out of 150. So we have a lot more fields that you can get into going forward with what you want to do. Like I said, if you, in the beginning, if you could think of the job, probably besides like doing beautician school or anything like that, the job is probably in the Army. So there's many different facets and ways you can do so many things. And I'm going to go over some of the CMFs for you as I scroll up in my pocket hand guide.
And can I pause for a second? You said MOS2. I forgot. I didn't catch that whole acronym. Was military?
Occupational specialty.
Specialty. And can you also give a little bit more clarity, when you said that combat is only 10% of the jobs?
Yes. So we offer 150 jobs. There are 150 jobs within the Army. Combat is only 10% of those jobs, being field artillery or actually being an infantryman. That's the extent of it. Everything else is either a trade or actually a service support type job. And when I say service support, I mean like our medical jobs. If I scroll down here to the CMF field, I don't know if y'all can see this, and see if I can figure out this camera thing for a second. It's probably hard to see, but this yeah, it is kind of hard to see. But the CMF for our medical, there are.
We can see it.
Oh, you can see it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that, those are all the jobs for medical. And there are jobs like practical nursing specialists, operating room specialists, cardiovascular specialists, nutrition care specialists. These have nothing to do with combat. These are all medical. They're going to be assigned directly to a hospital, and that's where you go to do your job. So if you went into a hospital in the civilian sector and you go into the hospital on the Army installation, you're going to see an exact duplicate of each other. They kind of mirror each other, except they're doctors and everything in uniforms, or they may have on their OCP pants, is like the uniform top I have on, and pants, and they have their scrub top, mask, whatever their duty uniform for the day is. So like I said, with 150 jobs, 10% of them is being combat. If you can think it, you can do it within the Army. And the ASVAB test lets you know that once you take the test, just because you take the ASVAB test does not mean you have to join anybody's military. It is free for everybody just to do, to see how you want to do or measure up with your scores. If you want to use it as a backup plan, now you can start sorting out, okay, over here's college, I'm doing this, this, and this. This is my plan with college, and I'm doing this hand, and this is what I scored on the ASVAB test, and these are all the jobs I can do within the Army. So boom, 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 and it'll list it out exactly for you. I do it every year for every test. When somebody takes a test and they say, Sergeant Teller, can you let me know what I qualified for? And I'm like, say no more, say less. I can tell you exactly what you qualified for just with the ASVAB test, specifically off of your scores, not anybody else's.
Wow, that's great. And do you guys have any questions so far? Because I did not know that it was only 10% of combat was only 10%. That's a surprise to me.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the biggest, misconceptions. So what are some other misconceptions that students and parents have about the Army or the military in general?
Oh, as soon as you finish training, you're going to war. That's one of the top ones out here. Sergeant Teller, I heard that soon as I graduate or finish my training, I'm going to Iraq or Afghanistan. It doesn't happen like that. You have at least a year and a half before you do anything whatsoever when it comes to deploying to another country to be any kind of what they call a wartime environment or do a deployment. The reason being is once you do all your training, there's at least a 6-month requirement for you to do training before you deploy and go somewhere. That means your unit, which is your duty station, has to be notified, and then everybody has to receive the training. Everybody has to, update their medical and their dental and their finances and do all these things to make sure if you have a family, then you have to make sure your family's taken care of. So it's at least 6 months of what they call SRP, Soldier Readiness Program, or Soldier Readiness Process. Okay, so just because you join and you finish all your training, that means you've been to basic training and you've been to AIT, where AIT is your advanced individual training, where you learn your job, and then it's like, okay, so I'm deploying now, right? No, it doesn't work like that. That's one of the misconceptions too.
Wow. Any questions, guys?
Yeah, my daughter wants to give me a hug real quick.
Oh, hello. Oh.
She was all teeth smiling down, but she missing the 2 front teeth, so she was almost all teeth smiling coming down.
Oh. So they don't have any questions yet so far. So we
Okay.
can. You have any?
Okay. Yeah. So with that and adjusting to from the ASVAB test, it's just going to break down just the actual process, qualifications, doing everything for the Army. So we do a background check, right? Make sure you haven't, been in any serious trouble with the law, anything like that. You have to take the ASVAB test. You have to score at least a 31 on the ASVAB test. The ASVAB test is a percentile test, not a percentage test. So it's based on the number that you get correctly, not on the number that you answer wrong and your score comes down. As you answer correctly, your score continues to go up based on the algorithm for the ASVAB test, okay? We do your fingerprints, right? We measure your height and weight status. We check for tattoos, okay? You do a physical process at Fort Dix at MEPS, which is called the Military Enlistment Processing Station, okay? That's where you go to swear in, where you see everybody, ship out the basic training. That's where everybody goes to process and swear in, okay? The oath of enlistment. Once you do the basis of those things and you meet the minimal qualifications for, then you come back with myself. You'll sit down with myself, my station commander, and you get to, now this is the advantage that the Army has over pretty much all the other branches. And it's not throwing the other branches under the bus, it's just saying what we can do with reservations. We do closed reservations. We don't do open contracts. So when you pick a job for yourself, if a bonus comes with it or anything like that, you are locked into that job. So if you pick aviation mechanic, or if you pick transportation logistics, or if you pick operating room specialist, and it comes with a bonus or anything of that sort, that is yours. Locked in, it's not changing anything else. And you can reserve that with myself at the recruitment station before you even go to the military interest processing station in Jersey at Fort Dix. It's called the reservation program, the remote reservation program. It's basically giving us the ability to reserve your job 7 days before you go swear in. All you have to do is meet the minimum requirements that I just talked about: height, weight. Make sure you don't have all 10 fingers and toes and stuff like that. When you go up to do your oath of enlistment and your physical process. Once you have those things in place, then you come back. We get you ready with what is called the Future Soldier Program, which is when we're training you. You're running with us, push-ups, sit-ups, you just, calisthenic stuff. We're just basically giving you the basic necessity tools to give you an idea of what basic training is going to be like. And there's no secrets. Everything we're transparent. So some of these links that I give you, A Day in the Life at MEPS on YouTube, Shark Attack with the drill sergeants at I think it's the installation is Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I want you to see what's going on. The whole process is transparent for you, your family, your loved ones, all the teachers, anybody that's included. Everything is transparent. Everything we're talking about today, that you can see. And there's many different links out there, so you can get a heads up on what you're going to experience when you leave off for basic training. And before I go on to like the aspects of active duty in the Army Reserve, Ms. Mitchell, is there any questions, anything?
I don't see any.
Okay. So, and now come like the meat and potatoes, everything. Breaking down.
The real scoop, right?
Yeah. Breaking down active duty and the Army Reserve. Okay. Like I said, I've done both in my 17 years, and I give all the information on each one. Here's a day in the life as an active duty soldier. As an active duty soldier, you're Monday through Friday, weekends off, all federal holidays off, and usually every other month, you have a 3-day or a 4-day on whatever installation you're on. There are installations all over the world, from all over the United States, California, on the West Coast to Florida to Virginia on the East Coast to Japan. We have installations everywhere. Italy, Europe, you name it, we have it. So you can be stationed anywhere in the world. In the morning, you wake up 6:30. 6:30, you'll get down, you'll do PT. PT is for an hour physical training. So, whatever the exercises of the day are, or running a couple miles, right? And you come back 7:30, between 7:30 and 7:45, between 9 o'clock. You have your, shower time, breakfast time, you're getting ready. 09 is your work call, whether it be a formation or you just show up to your work staff. So if you doing medical, you show up to the hospital. Me, transportation, we showed up to the motor pool to make sure our vehicles was right and everything like that. As a recruiter now, I just show up to the office. So we do our PT in the morning, and then I show up to the office for work call. 11:30 to 1 o'clock is lunch, right? Hour and a half for lunch. You go to the dining facility, or what we call the DFAC, and you eat. You punch a ticket, you eat for free, right? As an installation soldier, you eat for free. And that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You go back to work at 1, a 1300 for military time. And then from 1 p.m. to 4:30, or 1 p.m. to 5, or 1 p.m. to 5:30, that's your end of the call work day. So it could be anywhere between usually it's 4:30 to 5:30. In most installations, what we call being online, that's a typical day for majority of the jobs in the Army. Based on where you branch out at, it can be different based on where you go, but that's usually generally a day. And then when you're off, you're off. When I was off, I went and played basketball. I went and worked out. I played video games in my room. Some people have, their little parties and stuff like that, as long as they don't get too rambunctious. You're young, you're figuring it out for yourself. So just as you can go to college and figure it out for yourself, if you're 17, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, even 21, in the Army, and you're still figuring out your path, the Army lets you grow with that, right? So that's why I say, don't be turned off to the idea of going to school just because you're in the Army. Be more turned on because all these programs are in place, and the Army's giving you money, and they're paying you pretty much just to stay in shape and to go to school while also doing your job and getting paid to do your job on the 1st and 15th, right? You get 30 days of paid vacation a year. You earn 2.5 days of leave every month. And also you have the ability to do what is called 3 and 4 day passes. And that's based on your command's discretion. If you've done a good job for the week or the month or whatever the case may be, and you could do passes. That's pretty much the active duty side of it, on top of having full medical, full dental, and free life insurance, right? So these are the things they're going to give you off top. And all you have to do is be 17 years old, have at least a high school diploma or a GED. High school diploma is preferable, right? We want everybody to finish high school. To qualify for these things, pass the ASVAB test, and you're in those runnings. As long as you meet all the qualifications that I just talked about, you can go for active duty. On the flip side of that, and the reserves is totally inverse of what you just heard. Once you finish training, you come back home and you do 1 week in a month. That's a Saturday and a Sunday, right? You do 1 week in a month where you're in uniform, doing your job at your reserve center or your reserve training installation. So that's usually from the morning of. Is that my background? Can y'all hear that?
Yeah, that's you. But it's not loud though.
Okay, can y'all hear me? Okay. So usually between 7 to 5 in the evening, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have your reserve day on Saturdays and Sundays, and you get paid for your reserve time. Okay, so as on the 1st and 15th in active duty, if you're a private E1 and you're getting paid that $1,700 a month, on the reserve side for the Saturday and Sunday you only get about $250 to $270 for that weekend that you do. It's not exactly full medical or full dental. It's a partial, like a copay. So me active duty, I get everything. I hurt myself, get a boo-boo. I walk into the emergency room, I show my ID card, and I'm good to go. If you get a boo-boo and you have to pay, or it comes to for x-ray or something, broken bone or a sprain, and the bill comes up to $1,500, instead of you going in, once you show your ID card, the Army's only going to pay a partial of that, and you have to pay the other partial. So even though you won't pay the whole 15, you'll probably pay like $350 or $400 or something like that. Those are the biggest differences between the reserve. The reserves is for those who are trying to go to college or trying to come back or try to add to their resume because they're going to be a federal employee. They're going to be doing things going forward that they don't want to do a Monday through Friday ordeal for the job. They need enough time, and they just want to add to it, you know, their school amenities or their career resume with the Army's backing, right? And doing these things because you still get the money for school and everything like that. So those are the biggest differences between doing it every day, active duty, and doing it part-time in the reserves. Are there any questions, Ms. M? I'm gonna go. I found out. I'm gonna go turn this volume down.
Okay. And you guys make sure to ask any questions that you have because we only have a few more minutes and then we're wrapping up for the day. Yeah, I just told the students that, you know, we only have a few more minutes left, so make sure that they go into the chat and put their questions in. So I think that all of this information is probably pretty new. All of the students on here are sophomores, I believe.
Nice.
So it's pretty new to them.
So hopefully I get to see me when school starts again next year.
I hope we can all see each other. You know, and I just wanted to add too about the part that you were talking about as far as the college and things like that. We had one of our former students, Marvin's Ravix.
Marvin's.
He's going to Mansfield, and so we've been talking for the last couple of months because he had to, you know, do his application, and so I kind of got to live that whole process through him. Because he was dealing with the ROTC program up at Mansfield and how they reached out and they really put together a nice package for him. And then he showed us like how much money he was bringing from, you know, he's in the National Guard and how much money he was bringing with him. And then they kind of bent over backwards and offered him some other monies. And so pretty much he doesn't have to pay anything to go to school. And he might actually have some money left over, guys. And so he was in the National Guard for 1 year. You know, so for some of you, that may be an option that you want to look at, especially when Sergeant Taylor was talking about, again, that only 10% of the jobs are combat, because that's what everybody thinks. They think everybody's going to be, you know, in combat. So you can look at some specialty areas that that they have and see what areas are really good for you guys, you know, because even if we watch these movies, which they pretty much hype everything up, you know, you see people doing medical stuff, you see people that are chefs and do all kinds of different jobs. And so you kind of get in where you fit in. So we'll do one last call for any questions. I know the students are really tired at this point. Everybody, look, my hair too. There's a lot of product up in this hair. It's the weird.
Yeah, I had to lay it down as much as.
And I got some little grays over here and over here. There's been one, but
got a little seepage right here, but don't mind that. Don't mind that. That's my little LeBron.
Just tilt your head. Just tilt your head back a little bit.
Yeah, that's my little LeBron patch.
All right, guys. So we are going to. You guys don't have any questions. We're actually going to look. I was talking about your battery. My battery is the one that's low today. So we just want to thank Sergeant Taylor for taking time out of his busy schedule to talk to us about careers in the military and debunking some of the misconceptions that we have about the program. And just thank you again. We can't wait to see you when school starts. So if you guys, there we go. They're still here. So if you guys can shoot them a big thank you. We're not going to sing you happy birthday because we don't want to get kicked off the stage.
Oh, no. Y'all want me to sing. Y'all don't want me to sing. I want me to sing. I just want, if you have anything, you can look me up. Right now, I took it over the station Instagram page, and I do some things online. Actually, I have some of the kids from Norristown, Upper Marion and North Penn on my friends list on Xbox who like to play me in not Call of Duty, but NBA 2K, because I'm okay in Call of Duty, but NBA 2K is where I reign at. So a couple of kids a couple of students that challenged me, but they didn't get too far.
They lost?
No, they lost. They didn't get too far. They didn't get too far. But the station page on IG is Lansdale Army RS. You can look me up as well. Is SSG_ Taylor TNT. Ms. Mitchell has my information.
Yeah, and actually, if you guys, since you follow me on Instagram, I just put a post up, a little video snippet from this presentation, and I tag him and everything, so you can just tag.
Thank you guys to the class of 2020, 2021, the sophomores 2022 and beyond. Thank you, my Eagles family. I love y'all. Thank you for the time today, Ms. Mitchell. Keep striving and go Eagles.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I just got a couple of more announcements, and it's pretty much mirroring the same ones that I did at the beginning. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We have Pierce College tomorrow, which is going to be good because I'm going to learn a lot because I don't know a whole lot about online colleges, just enough to have a good conversation, but we're going to get really deep details tomorrow. And make sure that you guys go on Instagram and Schoology, and make sure that you sign up for all of these different opportunities that are popping up, especially the PASHE conference is coming up on Tuesday, so that you can get more information and then you can get plugged into these different schools, okay? All right, so thank you guys so much, and we will see you tomorrow. All right? All right.